Lugh is a gullible old man who barely showers once a month and is the biggest lapdog of a mafia. On his final mission, he wanted to retire into a peaceful lifestyle, only for his mafia bosses to get rid of his loser self. They forgot to call Truck Kun over and isekai'd him with the help of Airplane Kun, sending him to a place where he made a harem with just his sisters. Here in another isekai anime, young girls are being sold off into slavery, as we see yet another young girl wearing heavy makeup sits with a doggy face as she awaits her fate, being auctioned off to the highest bidder among rich men. As the bidding begins, the woman behind the event frowns at the low prices offered and urges her assistant to demand more. The assistant reminds her that these girls are in high demand and their value is already inflated, but the woman insists on greedily pushing for higher bids. As another girl is brought on stage for bidding, the announcer lists off her impressive features, that how she's one of a kind with the perfect plot armors. This increases interest from the buyers and raising her price even higher. But that young girl isn't any normal girl, as she has been sent undercover to take down this evil operation and vows to punish them all. She casts a spell, summoning a rifle and opening fire on everyone in the room in the American way. One of the security guards attempts to stop her but is blocked by another girl posing as a caretaker. Together they distribute keys to the captive girls so they can escape and wreak vengeance on their captors. Meanwhile, outside the building, two assassins wait to eliminate any fleeing members of this human trafficking organization, where they talk about how they kidnap girls from villages and sell them to old, rich, wrinkly men. Suddenly, the scene switches to modern times, where a professional assassin and his apprentice are taking out members of a mafia group. After killing 6 members as per their organization's orders, the apprentice suggests wiping out the entire group. But the assassin reminds her that they were given specific instructions and should not deviate. As they make their exit, they notice a surveillance drone targeting them and quickly escape in their van, followed by soldiers in armored cars. To confuse their pursuers, they plan to jump out of the van while firing at their enemies, and then ultimately jumping out of the car, successfully tricking their enemies into thinking they have been burnt to a crisp in that inferno. Afterwards, they find a suitable place to spend the night before continuing their mission. Curious about her mentor's past, the apprentice asks why he became an assassin. The assassin reveals that he was raised by the organization and molded into a perfect killing machine. He also teaches his apprentice a valuable lesson about never trusting anyone, by playing with her gun and showcasing the difference in their skills. The next morning, after receiving their next instructions from the organization, they board a plane to Japan where the organization's chapter is located. However, during the flight, they encounter extreme turbulence, and the assassin realizes that the organization is trying to eliminate him before he can retire from this dangerous life. He is stunned by the ruthless tactics of the organization, willing to sacrifice countless innocent lives just to eliminate him. As he stands at the front of the plane, he realizes there is no escape from their grasp. Suddenly, a fighter jet appears and launches a missile towards the plane, ending the anime before it could even start. Filled with regret and conflicting emotions, the assassin is drowning with not a single piece of cloth on his willy, and the very next instant he is pulled into a crystallized room where he meets a goddess with medium-sized plot armors who offers him a chance at reincarnation in a fantasy world while retaining all his memories. However, there is a catch: he must eliminate the hero of this world. The goddess explains to the assassin that 16 years after his reincarnation into this new world, the hero will defeat the demon lord, but will then be consumed by his own desires, leading to the world's downfall. The assassin's mission is to defeat the hero when he turns 18, using the knowledge and 5 special skills granted by the goddess. At first, the assassin is worried about facing such a powerful hero, who possesses incredible magical and physical strength, making him the equivalent of Hercules in this world. He shares his concerns with the goddess, who reassures him by offering 5 unique skills to help him in his mission. The assassin considers eliminating the hero earlier, but the goddess warns that the hero must first defeat the demon lord, as he is the only one capable of doing so. If the hero is killed too soon, it would still lead to the world's destruction. With his questions answered, the goddess allows the assassin to choose 5 skills from a total of 100,123 available options. This number is much smaller compared to the hero's natural 30 skills, which makes the assassin feel a bit nervous. The assassin chooses the following skills: rapid recovery from the S rank, spell weaving from the A rank, limitless growth from the B rank, martial arts from the C rank, and, surprisingly, elemental bending from the D rank, which gives him control over fire, water, air, earth, light, and dark elements. With these powerful skills, he becomes a formidable individual. The goddess then announces that it's time for the assassin to be reborn into a noble family of assassins, the House of Tuatha Dé. His new parents, Cian and Esrai, warmly welcome their newborn son and name him Lugh. Cian vows to train Lugh in the ways of an assassin, ensuring he grows up strong and capable. Esri, still grieving the loss of their first son Ruff, is comforted by her husband's promise. As Lugh grows, it becomes clear that he has inherited his father's talents, excelling in hunting and navigating the woods. What his parents don't know is that Lugh also has a unique gift. He can prepare meals with just the right nutrients to make him stronger, showing he might have been a fitness enthusiast in his previous life. At just 7 years old, Lugh begins his training with his father in a special room designed for this purpose. Cian carefully assesses his son's progress, teaching him assassination techniques and valuable medical knowledge, skills essential to their family's dual role as assassins and healers. One crucial aspect of Lugh's training is the mystic eyes of Tuatha Dé, a magical surgery that enhances his vision and allows him to see mana with great precision. The surgery is a success, and once Lugh recovers, he sees the world in a whole new way. To add to his excitement, Cian announces that a magic mentor will soon arrive to teach Lugh how to harness his magical abilities. A week later, a young mage named Dia Viecanes arrives. She teases Lugh for wearing clothes that make him look like a girl, calling him a femboy. Lugh initially thinks she's just another kid like him, but he soon learns that Dia is incredibly powerful and could easily overpower him. Despite being just 3 years older than Lugh, Dia wields immense power and immediately begins working with him to master his abilities. As part of her teachings, Dia gives Lugh a white transparent stone known as a fire stone. It serves as a vessel for storing mana and allows her to measure his magical capabilities. But when Lugh fills the stone with an excessive amount of mana, causing a massive explosion, Dia is amazed and she pisses her pantaloons while looking at his immense powers. This explosion attracts the attention of Lugh's parents, who are overjoyed to see their son's progress. Cian praises him for his strength and potential, and Esri can't help but feel a sense of pride in her cute little child. Excited about his newfound abilities, Lugh asks Dia if he can have more far stones. But she explains that they are sacred in her homeland, and not simply given out to anyone. However, she promises to continue teaching him how to use his magic effectively. And with that, Lugh eagerly looks forward to his future as an assassin in training. As the night wears on, Lugh ponders how he can acquire more stones. The next morning, Dia eagerly begins teaching him about the elements and their properties. She discovers that Lugh has an incredible affinity for fire, but even more surprising is his talent for multiple elements. Dia guides him in materializing elements from his spells, and as they continue to work together, Lugh's abilities improve greatly. While remembering all of his boring chemistry classes, Lugh creates a spell using the atomic weight and melting points of certain elements to form materials like iron. Dia is amazed by this discovery, but soon realizes she cannot use the new spell unless it is transcribed in a specific way. Despite this setback, the duo continues to create new spells, including weapons like rifles and cannons that can rip people apart. As Dia's departure approaches, Lugh makes her a beautiful titanium blade as a farewell gift. She asks him to promise to visit her, and he agrees without hesitation. Before leaving, Dia gives Lugh a rare stone in return for his growth under her mentorship. One day, Cian takes Lugh on a ride to the prison where criminals on death row are held. When Cian asks why he didn't raise Lugh to suppress his emotions, Cian explains that emotions should not be suppressed as they are not tools, but rather human traits. He also reminds Lugh that their purpose is to serve the kingdom and not become mere mindless killing machines for the royal families that could harm the people that need to be protected. Cian brings Lugh to the prison, and tells him that all prisoners here are lab rats for their experiments, before leading Lugh to a cell where he is tasked with eliminating a woman who has been sentenced to death. At first, the woman pleads for mercy, but when her fake crocodile tears didn't budge Lugh a bit, she reveals her true wicked nature. With a swift and precise strike of his sharp blade, Lugh cuts her left hand off, before yapping about some biological crap and then sending her off to Jesus for good. 3 years later, Lugh and his parents return to the market to check on the traders and merchants. Essri, still treating Lugh like her little boy, showers him with affection, and Lugh, now more understanding of her feelings, indulges her to keep her from getting upset. As they tour the market, Lugh discreetly searches for people with potential mana to assist in his training. However, his thoughts are often clouded by the looming task of having to kill the hero within the next 8 years. One day, while out on a hunting trip in the lush woods, Lugh senses a pack of wolves stalking their prey. He decides to intervene, planning to steal the wolves' meal. But to his surprise, he discovers that their intended dinner is a young lady. Lugh quickly dispatches the predators and approaches the girl, curious about how she ended up alone in the forest. She explains that she came from a poor region, lured to the wealthier Tuatha Dé area in hopes of a better life. Moved by her story, Lugh starts a fire to warm her up, gives her his jacket, and prepares a pot of porridge. As they eat, he reveals his identity as the son of Cian, the head of the powerful Tuatha family, and confides that he has taken lives before, though always for good reasons. The young lady named Tart becomes eager at the thought of helping Lugh with his mission, and Lugh, sensing her potential, carefully manipulates her emotions to gain her trust, turning her into his loyal servant. Meanwhile, in the divine realm, the goddess responsible for reincarnating special forces, soldiers into the fantasy world, receives another strong soldier from Earth and prepares to send him into this world. She then checks on the progress of the older soldiers she sent and grows concerned, seeing that some have become pathetic and corrupt. 2 years pass, and Lugh, now 12 years old, has Tart by his side as his personal assistant. She impresses his parents with her cooking skills, earning their fondness. Lugh takes Tart to the training room one day to evaluate her abilities, just as his father once did for him. He observes that while she excels with a spear, she struggles with close combat using knives. Concerned about her effectiveness as an assassin who needs to conceal her weapons, Lugh devises a spear that can fold into a knife. Tart trains diligently with this new weapon, improving greatly under Lugh's guidance over the next 2 years. As they continue to spend time together every day, their bond deepens, to the point where Lugh finds himself growing accustomed to Tart's affectionate nature, even if it means being smothered by her constant attention. Back at the goddess's realm, she summons another warrior, this time a samurai who ended up in her domain after performing the ritual of seppuku. She then takes a moment to review the failed candidates she had previously summoned to defeat the hero of this world. Meanwhile, back at the Tuatha Dé estate, Lugh and Tart visit the town's market. The villagers greet them warmly, and they exchange gifts in appreciation for Lugh's contributions to the community, such as creating new spells that have improved crop yields and helped farmers with their livestock. Though life is peaceful for Lugh and Tart, the daunting task of confronting the world's hero still weighs heavily on Lugh's mind. As they head back home, Tart is surprised by the number of gifts given to Lugh. He explains the importance of winning the hearts of the people, as he hopes to one day lead the town. When they return home, Lugh shows Tart a bag full of far stones, explaining that he has been storing his mana in them since Dia gave him one. These stones, which could be used as powerful weapons, symbolize Lugh's preparedness for the challenges ahead. Shortly after, Cian summons Lugh to the training room to discuss Tart's progress. Lugh assures his father that Tart is performing exceptionally well, although there is still some caution about how she conveniently appeared when Lugh needed an assistant with mana. Despite this, Lugh is confident that Tart poses no threat to their family's secrets. Cian then informs Lugh that he must undergo another test, a fight against his father. However, Cian reassures him that winning or losing doesn't matter. The goal is to assess Lugh's abilities. Lugh, however, is determined to do his best. In the forest, father and son engage in an intense battle, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Lugh soon realizes that his father is predicting his movements by reading his breathing and the subtle movements of his muscles and bones. Drawing on his past life experiences and the skills he learned from the Tuatha Dé clan, Lugh manages to trick his father and gain the upper hand, ultimately winning the battle. Impressed, Cian praises Lugh for not relying on magic and instead using his physical strength and tactics, which was the true test. Lugh passes without resorting to any shortcuts. With this success, Lugh begins assisting his father with various assassination missions. Together, they eliminate corrupt noblemen using a range of techniques, proving their expertise in the deadly art. On their way back from one such mission, Lugh points out that his father was also assessing the security details of their target, which Cian confirms is a crucial part of their work. Cian explains that an assassin must adopt different identities when infiltrating a target's stronghold. He reveals that he had arranged for Lugh to take on a false identity as the son of a respectable trader named Bala, who owed Cian a favor. This new revelation opens up a whole new world for Lugh and marks the beginning of his journey as a full-fledged assassin. Lugh is then given a 2-year mission to infiltrate the Bala family, posing as their son, Ilig Bala. This undercover role will grant him access to their homes and castles, all while maintaining the guise of a merchant. Successfully completing this mission will mark Lugh's initiation as a full member of the Tuatha Dé clan. In preparation for his final test, Cian gathers the other branch families and announces that Lugh will inherit leadership of the clan after him. However, a young man named Rona from one of the branches challenges this decision, proposing a duel between himself and Lugh. Before Rona can boast about his strengths, Lugh swiftly disarms him, almost cutting his neck and breaking his elbow with ease. Lugh's skill and precision leave no doubt that he is the superior fighter. Accepting his defeat, Rona pledges his loyalty to Lugh as his subordinate. Later, Lugh visits Rona and promises to make him a knight instead of an assassin when he becomes the leader of the clan. As a gesture of goodwill, Lugh gives Rona a sword, and Rona vows to become even stronger over the next 2 years. The next day, Lugh and Tart set out on their journey to their next destination. Lugh asks Tart to start calling him Ilig Bala, his new persona for the mission ahead. In Miltu, a group of orphan girls, Maha, Aifa, Nokai and Carrie, work as tour guides to support themselves. They show tourists around town for money, trying to survive in a difficult economy. Their peaceful lives are disrupted when strange men attack them during a rainstorm. Despite Maha's efforts to defend herself with her mana abilities, all the girls are captured. The girls are taken to an orphanage controlled by Mr. Tauren. He threatens them with severe punishment if they don't follow his orders. When one of the girls speaks out against their treatment, Tauren silences her violently. The girls receive very little food and are forced to do hard labor, while being mistreated by the men. As time goes on, the girls suffer physical and emotional abuse from their captors. They long for the freedom they once had as tour guides, but are now trapped and desperate to escape. After the attack, a noble viscount comes to examine the girls. He selects one girl and pays Tauren to send her to his hotel that night. Aifa is chosen and she is very distressed. She hides in a corner to cry, while Maha tries to comfort her. This becomes a regular situation, and Aifa is also used by Tauren for his own pleasure. Over time, more girls become part of this cruel cycle. One night, Aifa, trying to avoid being bought and used by wealthy men, disfigures her own face. 2 years later, she overhears Tauren and his assistant discussing plans to use 12-year-old Maha for their own pleasure. Maha grabs a sickle to harm herself but is stopped by Lugh, now known as Ilig, the son of Lord Bela, who is at the orphanage looking to buy a girl. Lugh chooses Maha because of her mana abilities and pays Tauren. However, Tauren insists Lugh can only take Maha after 3 days, during which he plans to use her himself. On the way to the nobleman's castle, Maha, overwhelmed with sadness, uses her mana to escape into the woods. Tauren's assistant, who also has mana, tries to capture her, but Lugh appears and easily defeats him. Lugh takes action against Tauren and his men for their crimes in human trafficking. Other noblemen involved in this illegal trade are also arrested. Lugh frees the remaining girls and takes Maha home, where she dreams of him as her hero. Bela's legitimate son falls gravely ill, but Lugh uses his medical expertise to heal him. Grateful for saving his son's life, Bela feels indebted to Lugh and his household. In appreciation, he adds Lugh's name to the Bela family registry, officially making him part of the family. To further show his gratitude, He also includes Maha's name, recognizing her as Lugh's sister within the Baylor family records. Not long after this, Baylor invites Lugh to study under him and entrust him with a new challenge, reviving an abandoned store. Confident in Lugh's abilities, Baylor shares his hopes for the store's success. Lugh accepts the responsibility and, after discussing the task with Baylor, shares his plan with Maha and Tart. He reveals his idea of opening a cosmetics store, targeting noblewomen who adore makeup, and proposes introducing a unique product that the world has never seen before: moisturizers. Later that night, Maha and Tart, feeling close to Lugh, share a bed with him, though their playful intentions are left unspoken. The next day, Lugh meets with Baylor and his wife to discuss his business plan. While Baylor's wife is initially uninterested and skeptical of Lugh, she quickly changes her mind when Lugh presents his idea of the moisturizer. The sample Lugh provides makes her makeup look more natural and radiant, impressing her so much that she praises Lugh for his brilliance. Baylor, seeing his wife's reaction, also tests the product and agrees that it has great potential, especially for preserving skin moisture. Eager to begin mass production, Baylor is fully on board, but Lugh reveals that he needs special ingredients from Tuatha. To keep his plans discreet, Lugh travels there secretly, ensuring that no one can discover the true purpose of his visit. Meanwhile, their store, named Orna, starts to thrive, attracting customers from all over the region. Maha hires her orphaned sisters to work in the store, giving them a new start and a better life. However, Tart warns Lugh about spies from rival companies trying to steal their product secrets. Despite their efforts, the spies find themselves outmatched by Lugh's clever tactics and protective measures. One night, a spy sneaks into Lugh's room, attempting to kidnap him and steal the formula for their popular moisturizer. But Tart and Maha quickly intervene, capturing the intruder. When he refuses to cooperate during interrogation, they decide to strip him of his dignity before ensuring he's dealt with permanently. In a separate scene, the goddess sends another soul into the fantasy world, 30 years prior to Lugh's current timeline. She checks on his progress, only to find that he hasn't made much of an impact yet. Back in the present, Lugh prepares for a secret journey, eventually revealing that he is visiting Dia once again. They enjoy their time together, with Lugh teaching her an anti-gravity spell and gifting her some sweets. However, their time is short, and Dia feels sad as Lugh prepares to leave. The next morning, Lugh wakes up to find he has hit puberty. Tart and Maha, noticing the change in him, can sense his newfound maturity and offer to help him with the new challenges that come with growing up, showing their care and concern for him in their own way. As they head out to get groceries, two of Maha's sisters are suddenly attacked by bandits. However, Maha arrives just in time to save them, showcasing how much she has progressed in her training. She easily handles the bandits and warns them never to come near her family again. This incident is a clear sign of Maha's growth in strength and confidence. Later, Tart gives Lugh a pouch filled with buttons she collected from the bad men she has taken down with her spear, a symbol of her own lethal skills. Lugh assigns Tart the important task of eliminating the dangerous bandits in the area, while he tasks Maha with gathering crucial intelligence and managing their finances. As his 2 years of training as a merchant come to an end, Lugh prepares to leave Milto and pass on his company to Maha. She eagerly shows him a map of an abandoned store in a nearby town, which she believes will allow them to expand into new regions. However, Lugh begins to suspect that Maha has her own agenda, seeking revenge against the man who killed her parents and took over their family business. Lugh warns Maha not to let her emotions cloud her judgment, but she insists that she is fully capable of running the company and taking down her enemy. Just then, Maha's sisters enter the room to bid farewell to Lugh, thanking him for all his help and inviting him to visit them in the future. As Lugh departs, he briefly reveals his natural silver hair before getting into his chariot. But Maha interrupts him with a heartfelt conversation, asking him to take care of himself as he leaves, much like a concerned lover would. She vows to always be there for him. As they make their way back home, Tart playfully teases Lugh, suggesting that Maha might see him as more than just a brother or friend, perhaps even as a future husband. Soon after, they are suddenly attacked by monstrous wolves. Tart effortlessly takes them out, but Lugh realizes that this is a sign that the hero must soon emerge, as creatures are already invading human settlements, Continuing their journey, they finally arrive in Tuatha, where the people welcome them with open arms, expressing their gratitude for all the good they have done for the community. Back at home, Esserai is overjoyed to finally embrace her son after many years apart, showering him with affection. After settling in, Lugh visits his father in his study, where he is praised for excelling in his merchant training. His father also informs him that Bela visited and begged Cian to convince Lugh to give up being an assassin and become a full-time merchant instead. Cian then asks Lugh if he is willing to make the switch, as it would allow him to live a peaceful life in case the assassins are ever betrayed or abandoned by the kingdom. However, Lugh declines, making a promise to only kill those he chooses, determined to live a life of happiness that was denied to him in his past. Finally, Lugh reveals his feelings to Cian, confessing his love for Dea and his desire to one day marry her, something he can only do if he comes from a noble house like Tuatha Dé. After receiving a satisfactory answer, Cian gives Lugh his first task, eliminating a nobleman who has been selling the kingdom's secrets to other kingdoms in exchange for drugs. Cian assures Lugh that he will not interfere or assist him in this mission, as Lugh prepares for his debut as a solo assassin. With the target information and credentials in hand, Lugh tells Tart about his mission, to take down Count Asba Vencor, a drug dealer in their region who profits from others' suffering. Despite the challenge, Lugh is determined to do the job well and make his father proud. Lugh decides to gather evidence on Count Asba's illegal activities and asks Maha, who has extensive information networks, to help him. The next morning, Esri visits Lugh in his room and, unlike a typical mother, asks to inspect his body after puberty to see how he has grown. Lugh refuses her request. Later, Esri proposes arranging a marriage for Lugh, but he firmly rejects the idea. Esri then suggests that Lugh should consider making Tart his mistress and having a child with her soon. Esri is eager for grandchildren, but Lugh is not ready to become a father yet. Lugh and Tart then disguise themselves and infiltrate Count Asba's residence. Meanwhile, a scene shows a goddess reincarnating another soul into the fantasy world 25 years earlier, where the person struggles and meets an unfortunate end at the hands of a hero. Back in the present, Lugh and Tart enter town and come across a young girl carrying a basket of jam. Lugh smashes the basket, which draws the attention of bandits guarding drug jams. Lugh and Tart defeat the bandits and question the girl, who reveals she was taking the drugs to her mother. Lugh and Tart follow the girl to her home, where they find her mother addicted to the drug. Lugh uses his healing abilities to ease her physical symptoms, but emphasizes that the mother needs to recover mentally to avoid falling back into addiction. Returning home, Lugh and Tart find that Maha has sent all her findings about Count Asba's illegal activities. After reviewing the evidence, Lugh is convinced of Asba's guilt and decides he must be eliminated. Disguised as Illig, Lugh travels to Asba's town with Maha. On the journey, Maha encourages Lugh to get closer to Tart, revealing her own feelings for him, but focusing on her cosmetics company first. She suggests that it's acceptable for a man to have a wife and mistresses, mentioning that she could be one of Lugh's mistresses, along with Dea and Tart. Arriving at Asba's castle, his wife welcomes them warmly. Asba announces a party in Lugh's honor, and the guests are eager to try the new moisturizer Lugh provided. During the party, Lugh tries to question Asba about his illegal activities, but Asba remains silent. Lugh observes Asba's routine and, with Tart's help, prepares to take action. From a nearby cliff, Lugh aims carefully and successfully eliminates Asba with a single shot from his sniper rifle. As they prepare to leave, Lugh sees Asba's wife rushing to her husband's lifeless body. Although Lugh does not regret his decision, the scene leaves a lasting impression on him. Lugh and Tart embark on a trip to an uninhabited island to practice their magic. It's your classic beach episode filled with fan service moments, but the real focus is on improving their magical abilities. Upon their return to the mainland, they are met by Maha, who brings both good and bad news. The good news is that she has located the divine treasure that Lugh has been searching for, the powerful magic spear known as Geibolg. However, she also delivers alarming news about a civil war that has erupted in the neighboring kingdom of Zweigel. Even Dea's home kingdom of Vicona has joined forces with the rebels against the ruling monarchy. To make matters worse, the most formidable opponent on the rebel side is Setanta Magnes, the current wielder of Geibolg. Troubled by this information, Lugh decides to visit Dé in her hometown to discuss their next move. Despite his offer to transport her and her family to safety, Dé refuses to abandon her duty, remaining steadfast in protecting her people. To lighten the mood, Dé suggests they go out and enjoy themselves since her parents are away. In a sweet gesture, she even changes her hair color to match Lugh's, wanting to show how close they've become. She asks him to pick out a dress for her, but in the end, she doesn't wear it. As they walk through the streets of Vicone, Lugh surprises Dé with his knowledge of local restaurants, even though he's not from the area. When Dé spots a teddy bear shop where prizes can be won, she asks Lugh to help her win a specific bear. Instead of using magic, Lugh gently guides Dé's hand, and after several tries, she finally wins the bear, which she treasures. To satisfy Dé's craving for lasagna, Lugh takes her to a nearby restaurant. Despite the looming war and uncertain future, they find comfort in each other's company, briefly forgetting their troubles. Dé, however, complains about the lasagna, prompting Lugh to promise that he'll make her a better one when she visits his home. After leaving the restaurant, they encounter a lost child. With the help of magic, they quickly locate the boy's mother and reunite them. Dé praises Lugh for his kindness and suggests they visit the town's pool. Despite Lugh's initial shyness, Dé encourages him to join her in the water, and they end up having a fun time together in a hot spring that Dé had booked just for the two of them. The moment is filled with romance and intimacy as they share kisses and enjoy each other's company. As they relax in the hot spring, Dé talks about her father's bravery and expresses her own desire to serve the interests of Vicone. With the day drawing to a close, Lugh and Dé say their goodbyes as Lugh prepares to return to his home. As he leaves, Dé reveals that the citizens around her are actually disguised soldiers and orders them to stand down. With tears streaming down her face, she bids Lugh a heartfelt farewell. Upon returning home, Lugh and Tart find a wounded man on their floor. Cian informs them that he is already taking care of the man's injuries. He then tells Lugh that the man has brought them an assassination task, and Lugh is the one who should carry it out. The target is none other than Dé Vicone, the girl Lugh hoped would one day be his wife. Lugh is surprised by this revelation but remains calm as he listens to all the information he needs. Lugh's father then reveals that Vicone army and Swigel army lost in the war, with Count Vicone surrendering most of his land and wealth. However, there are still rebels who want Dé because of her powerful magic abilities, making her a valuable asset for their cause. Or maybe they just want to have fun with her at the end. To prevent this, Count Vicone has hired the Tuatha Dé to assassinate Dé. But there's a catch. Dé's father only wants the assassination to look real, but it will actually be a facade. If the rebels believe that Dé is dead, they will cease their siege on Vicone. Lugh realizes that Dé must already know what's happening, but has chosen not to tell him when he went there on a date with his cute girlfriend. As Lugh weighs his options, he remembers that he owes Dé for teaching him magic and decides to accept the task. He gives 3 reasons for doing so. First, to repay his debt to Dé. Second, to stop the war and bring peace to Vicone. And third, as a way to prove his worth and strength as a magic user. Despite breaking his own rules, Lugh knows this is the right thing to do, and that he has his own conviction to follow, unlike a leashed lapdog of some organization. Lugh has always sworn to always be there for Dé, no matter what, since the 2 lovebirds won't leave their side. But when Lugh's father drops a bombshell that reveals Ezri's true parentage, the fact that Count Vicone is her biological father, it changes everything. Now, Lugh and Dé are not only lovers, but also cousins. They really gonna allow cousin marriages in this isekai. Cian wishes him luck on his journey ahead as he prepares to leave to protect Dé from danger. Tart offers to accompany them on their journey, using her wind magic to help conserve his mana and strength. However, as they travel, Tart begins to suffer greatly from the strain of using her powers constantly. But she refuses to give up, remembering how Lugh once saved her life with his kindness and determination. Eventually, Tart exhausts all of her mana and collapses from exhaustion. Lugh thanks her for getting them this far and begs her to rest before continuing on their journey. Meanwhile, a cut scene from 14 years ago shows the goddess overseeing the souls she has reincarnated, disappointed that none of them have reached their full potential except for one, as everyone else was useless douchebag. Back in the present timeline, Lugh arrives at Count Viconi's castle and is met with a large army laying siege to the city. Quickly using his skills with firearms and explosive stones, Lugh takes out many of the enemy's magic users while also contacting Dé inside the castle walls. After successfully sneaking into the castle undetected, Lugh reunites with a surprised and overjoyed Dé, who embraces him tightly, and the two lovebirds unite once again, forgetting that there's a godforsaken war going outside. The Count explains the dire situation. The soldiers have refused to surrender and have instead locked him and Dé inside the castle as prisoner. The only way for them to escape is if Lugh and Dé can deceive both sides by faking Dé's death with a female soldier's body before setting fire to their room as a distraction. Just as they are about to carry out their plan, where Dé shouts out from the window pleading for help in a fake manner, Lugh senses danger nearby, and the very next moment a strange, muscular, beefy man throws the spear Gaibolg at the castle with incredible force, obliterating anything in its path. But thanks to Lugh's quick thinking and counterspell, Dé and Count Viconi survive unscathed. Now Lugh must use all of his skills to protect Dé and her true identity from being discovered as they continue their journey to safety. As the tension rises, Lugh conjures a formidable projectile launcher and takes aim at the man who had attacked them. The explosion created by the powerful hit shakes the entire area, leaving Dé in shock at the devastating weapon. But her astonishment quickly turns to fear as she and Lugh realize that their attacker is still alive and he can clap their cheeks if they aren't careful. Lugh confidently declares that no one can survive a hit from his weapon, but they soon learn that this man is not just any ordinary foe. He is Setanta Mac Ness, the infamous hero that Lugh and Maha have been tracking back then. Later on, the beefy berserk hero challenges Lugh to a duel, citing that if Lugh wins, he will retreat with all of his men. Lugh accepts Setanta's challenge for a duel, but secretly plans to use his assassin skills to take him out. As they approach their opponent, Lugh introduces himself as Ferry to Loch Ness Monster. But before the fight can begin, formalities must be settled. Lugh manages to delay the battle until his projectile is ready for launch from space, which is his ultimate trump card against this Pillar Man from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Count Vicon is sent away to safety while Lugh continues to catch Setanta off guard with clever banter and distractions. As they finally prepare for battle, the goddess watches from behind the scenes, knowing that this final showdown will determine the fate of Viconi. In a moment of suspense, Lugh flips a coin to signal the start of the fight and unleashes his carefully aimed projectile at Setanta. The impact is massive, resulting in a nuclear-like explosion that even wounds Lugh, but with his rapid healing skills, he doesn't get fatal injuries. As the dust settles, Dé rushes over to thank him for saving her life. Things finally get romantic between the two in this war zone. Lugh knows that he failed to carry out the fake assassination of Dé, but he still succeeded. Nonetheless, he brings her back home to the Tuatha, but this time due to her being his cousin in reality, Cian makes Dé his younger sister on documents, making Lugh embrace the path of Alama for her. However, it is revealed that Setanta wasn't the hero after all. The true hero of the story emerges, Lord Epona Rhiannon, who had been in hiding all along and suddenly decides to show his face like a wild card entry.